If you look at what competitive bodybuilders do, apart from the tanning and posing, it's eating quality food, exercise, prioritizing sleep, basic fundamental things that everybody would benefit from. If you want to improve people's health, you get them healthy by eating right food and moving their body and building and preserving lean tissue. But you've got, the obesity. I mean, it's got like the years of America where the graph gets more red. Like we've all seen that graph. It's pretty downward spiral. And then you've got, Alzheimer's, dementia rates on the climb. You've got people that have all kinds of visceral fat. Everything's just going south.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other circle in that Venn diagram is going to be competitive bodybuilders, people that are actually competing in the sport, where they have the very extreme fat loss phases. They got the posing trunks, the tan, like the extreme end. All right. In the middle, you've got bodybuilding as a lifestyle. Because if you look at what competitive bodybuilders do, apart from the tanning and posing and things very specific to that sport on a competitive basis, it's eating quality food, exercise, prioritizing sleep, like basic fundamental things that everybody would benefit from. And you see that like clear as day in the sport of bodybuilding, in the lifestyle of bodybuilding.
Yep.
Like if you want to improve people's health, you get them healthy by eating right food and moving their body and building and preserving lean tissue. So if everybody just simply viewed themselves, identified as a bodybuilder, that it's not to say that you have to take it to the next level and compete.
Yeah.
But like live as a bodybuilder lives. Like put an emphasis on the food that you put in your body. Track it if you need to. If you're not happy with where you're at in life and you're trying to control the variables and get that dialed in, like actually track your intake. What can be measured can be managed. But like live as a bodybuilder, identify as a bodybuilder. Like there's no question that of all the different sports out there, the sport of competitive bodybuilding, those athletes have mastered the art of losing as much body fat and holding on to as much muscle during a fat loss phase as possible.
Yep.
That's what everybody would benefit from doing. So if we identified as bodybuilders and that became ingrained into our being, we would all improve, period. And again, that's not to say you have to take it to the extreme of actually competing with it, but identify as a bodybuilder and act accordingly.
Yeah, there's a story that I like to tell, and it was of a guy who lost 100 pounds, and I think it was from a Tony Robbins book. But he said that there was a guy, and what he did was he just identified as I think he said, because he was a very religious person, he said trash can or temple, and it was like that part. And then there's another gym story that the guy, he wasn't an athlete, he didn't compete, he didn't play football, he didn't do anything, but he's like, what would an athlete do?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And kind of to your bodybuilding point, that's essentially what we're all doing, is whether we're taking it to the extreme or not, we're building our body. And it could be building obesity, or it could be building a lean physique, or whatever it is, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think if people did take that approach and just like, I think the word people are like, oh, bodybuilder, I'm going to be buff and ripped. No, like bodybuilding is what we're all doing in some way. We're either building it in the wrong direction or we're building it in the right direction.
100%, man. And I say that same thing at so many of these conferences I speak at. I speak at a bunch of conferences in the keto space where the general population is like, where the general demographic at these conferences is like middle-aged males and females that are overweight, that have been eating a standard American diet their whole life. They've come into this knowledge of the ketogenic diet, ancestral eating, and, mitigating against excessive blood sugar. And they're like, okay, I'm totally going to buy into it. And they have me speak, and they can't relate with me because I'm like 34 years old, and I was at one point the leanest man alive, and I'm a pro bodybuilder. They're like, okay, I can't relate. That's not me. It doesn't apply. But it's like, look, people, do as I do, as bodybuilders do, and I guarantee you will build muscle and you will lose fat and you will improve your health.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to freaking get down to sub 5% body fat, put on posing trunks and get tanned up and step on stage.
Yeah.
But if you just simply live as a bodybuilder lives with an emphasis on these habits, you will reach the goal that you desire. Period, full stop, no questions asked.
Yeah, it's just running it through that filter. Like, I always tell my clients, I don't talk about my clients a lot. I don't know if that's normal or not.
It's good.
But I always tell them to say, what would the best version of you do? So if let's just say their weight goal is 150 pounds, right? Just as an example, what would the 150-pound version of you do? And you just run it through that filter, right? So if you would take on the identity of a bodybuilder, I keep looking at yours, it says bodybuilding right there. But if you keep taking that identity, well, you're probably going to act like that person. And it's not to fake it till you make it. It's you're living it so you can become it, you know? So yeah, I agree.
I had another epiphany this past weekend, and I'm gonna make a post on this. I've just been like, I've had all kinds of creative thoughts.
You've been going crazy on it. I like it though.
Yeah, we're rolling,
post.
man.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking, and like the whole catalyst for this was like, okay, I'm putting out a very ultra niche message. Like I'm a natural competitive ketogenic bodybuilder, which is a pretty freaking narrow field of view.
Yeah.
Like pretty niche. But like I know that my messaging would benefit the masses. So like how do I get them to find what I'm speaking about relatable and applicable to them? And then I'm like, okay, what is it people desire in life? What is it people want? What is it that we all crave? Like the purpose of life is a pretty freaking deep question. Like that's one that we could talk around a campfire for hours on. But I'm like, okay, peace. We need peace. There's a lack of peace in the world. People crave peace. What generates peace? Well, the one resource that is finite is time. You know, they're not making any more time. Time is passing. And I've discovered that the more confident I am in the fact that how I am spending my time is in complete alignment to how I'm supposed to be spending my time, the more peace I have. So peace comes from knowing that you are living the life you are supposed to with the time that you have. Okay. How do we do that? Well, I have this image of a pyramid in my mind. We are all born in a relative state of health, barring any type of genetic mutations or birth defects or something like that. We're pretty much born in a healthy state. It is our baseline primitive responsibility as a freaking human being to build upon that baseline measure of health. The problem is most people piss it away with societal norms. I mean, we're fed baby formula, we're fed candy. I mean, like people just go downhill pretty early on. But like we're born in a state of health. So like health should be the base of that pyramid structure. If you make health a priority, which is a basic responsibility, that's not something that you're doing in excess of what you should be doing. That's just like baseline primitive responsibility. Then everything else you do in life improves. And if you are healthy, by default, you're going to have relatively good habits, relatively good routines, relatively good structure to your life in and of itself by simply being healthy as a baseline. Once you've got that established, then you're going to be able to further, enhance your degree of self-confidence. You're going to figure out who you are. You can figure out what your passions are, what your skills are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And if you're able to do all that stuff in a state of health, you're going to be better at them. Like if you're super passionate about freaking kayaking, I guarantee you kayaking is much more fun and enjoyable when you're not 300 pounds overweight. Like everything in life improves if you're healthy. As you figure out your passions and skill sets and strengths, your ability to make wealth improves. Your ability to provide improves. Your ability to figure out what your resources and assets are to a team improves. So your wealth is like the next. You got health, self-development, then wealth. As you accumulate more wealth, you're going to be able to provide better for your family. You'll be able to give the kids the life that you want for them and desire for them. You're going to be a better provider to your spouse or significant other. So above the wealth is the relationships in life. You're going to be able to provide your community better. Above that, you've got God. You've got serving a purpose bigger than yourself. And even if you don't believe in God, unless you're a self-absorbed asshole that thinks the world revolves around you, everyone's primary goal should be to serve.
Existing for others.
Yeah, existing for others. Because you're here, you're blessed with life. If you're listening to this podcast, you are a human being on this planet. And like your goal in life should be to leave the world a better place than you found it. And your ability to serve others, to serve your community, to serve your family, to serve God is going to be heightened if you're not super unhealthy. If you're passionate about having more years than your grandkids, you better damn well believe you can do so better if you're healthy. So like everything has to be built on that health as the fundamental baseline to that pyramid structure. But I feel like that's the messaging that I'm really going to start putting out going forward.
And I love that because that's right on par with what I try to get across to my people, where I think we kind of live in this way where people don't know what they don't know, and so they think that they're providing their best, right? Like, oh man, I'm so tired, but I gave my grandkids my all, and I'm like, you think you gave them your all, but you don't know what your all is because you haven't lived that in a long time. And and you see that when it's like you get those messages of people who do transform their health, and they're like, my grandkids were trying to keep up with me,
Mhm.
and that's a beautiful thing. And another client story that always sticks out, kind of to your point of, there's things that you're not doing with your life because of your health, and then it affects others. Is there's a client who came in, this is when I owned my gym, but she's like, I was like, yeah, so what are your goals? And she's like, you know what, Joe, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I just want to be able to dance and garden again. And that's it. That's all she wanted in her life. She was older already, and one of my best moments was, we used to throw end of the year parties, and we danced together. And it
Mhm.
was just so awesome to see. And it's a story that I tell all the time, because I think, to your point of the pyramid, like, that's crucial, because everything starts at a foundational level of health, but then it improves. And think about how many people, because of their self-consciousness, they don't go for that career upgrade. They don't go and chase that person that they like. They're just, I'm not worthy of that, or I
Mhm.
don't deserve that.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.